button here, we pushed it. And it
All right.
Okay, I got it. I don't know how I got it, guys, but I got it. I'm
All right,
just gonna
everybody.
try. I can tell you that right now.
The meeting's being recorded. So welcome to the North Santiam Sewer Authority Board Meeting and Sewer Project Update number 65. It's June 6th, very important day, 2022. It's 6 p.m. Nope, it's 6:02 p.m. So let's do a roll call. Janet?
Kim,
Present.
Timothy,
Here,
Brian.
Dr. Gander. He's here. He's got a thumbs up.
Okay. Denny,
Here.
I see we don't have Ron yet. Tony? You're muted.
Thumbs up.
Present.
He's
Okay.
here.
And then myself. Did we ever get a second representative for Idina assigned yet?
Idana, no.
Idina, whatever.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm working on it. I am.
He's working on it. Any declarations, conflicts of interest? Jody's here, Brian's here.
I'm
Sarah-
trying to get Marion.
Hearing none. Any announcements? Hearing none. Public comment and questions. Please limit public comments to 3 minutes each. Any public comments? Hi, Mary. Hearing none. Sarah, it's action time. Annual election of board members to serve through June 2022 through May 2023.
Yeah, so I'm going to help facilitate this. So the officer positions that we'll be electing today are the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and communications. And I actually looked at the board policies, and it will be from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 is when these positions will be serving. And I think we can just start with chair. So does anyone have nomination?
I nominate Ken.
My second.
I couldn't.
I think if there's only one nominee, well, are there any other nominations for chair? I watched the election last year, so what I'm going off of, but if there's only one nomination, you can just, all those in favor,
Aye.
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 all those opposed? Okay. So next is vice chair nominations.
I nominate Tim Kirsch.
A second.
Any others?
I don't have to be nice to them.
All those in favor, Tim Kirsch for vice chair,
Aye.
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 all those
Opposed?
opposed?
And Tim, you can't answer her.
Okay. So next is secretary.
Janet. I nominate Janet.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor?
Sarah, does Janet, the folks that are being nominated, you have to say you accept, I think.
She's
Brian-
thinking
Brian's
about
laughing.
it.
What are you laughing about, Brian?
She's thinking hard.
I accept.
Okay, all those in favor then?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
See how easy this is?
Okay. And then treasurer,
Brian,
Second.
Dr. Gander.
do you accept the nomination? Fine. We can't hear you.
You're muted, sir.
Thumbs up.
There's a thumbs up.
Yeah, he's going for it.
Okay, any other nominations? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right,
All those opposed? Okay, Brian Gander will be the treasurer. And then finally, the communications person, communications chair, I think.
Denny, I nominate Denny.
I'll second that.
Do you accept the nomination, Denny?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so if I have this right, the chair from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, chair will be Ken Woodward, vice chair Tim Kirsch, secretary Janet Zan Hall, treasurer Brian Gander, and communications chair Denny Nielsen.
here, here.
Okay, thanks everyone.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with it and staying involved. All right, we're going to E, action, review and approval of meeting summary notes. Janet, are they prepared?
They are not, but I have a question for you on this. You have, I gotta make it bigger. I'm sorry, I'm blind. The notes from 2.7 and 3.7. I did not prepare those and I did not do them. So did we get them from Danielle?
I'll have to go back and look. I think 3.7 and 4.2 would be you.
No, I didn't think it was.
I'll go back and look.
Yeah, I'll just go back and do them all, okay?
If you can, do you have time?
You really want me to answer that?
No.
Just do it, okay. I'm gonna need some relaxation, so this might be a good therapy for me.
Oh, okay, summary notes. That's a good thing.
Plug into the computer, sweetie.
All right, we'll put that for next meeting. 2.7, 3.7, 4.2. All right, moving on, Treasury Report review and pay bills if necessary. Brian. Where'd he go? Brian Gander.
He just told me he needs to be let into the meeting.
Oh,
I think he tried leaving and coming back.
thank you. I covered up the participant and didn't see that he did that.
Mr. Gander.
So I tried to log back in because my mic wasn't working. So,
Well, it's working
What
now.
did you say? No.
thank you.
You're the Treasury Report.
Not a whole lot to report. There's been no movement. I think after tonight's IGA agreement, then things will start to tumble and we'll see. I have it in the minutes. Janet, if you could share those with me, I can take them to the City Hall at Mill City and have them transfer our remaining balance up to our US bank account, or maybe they can just cut me a counter check. I'm not quite sure. But when I talked to Ms. Woods, she said I needed a copy of the minutes from the meeting at which we allowed that transfer to go forward. So I think that was a couple meetings back, maybe as many as 3. I'm not certain.
I thought we were waiting until the 150 went in.
And I anticipate that
Okay.
happening, before our next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it needs to be done soon. Is that
And then
it?
I can deal, we spoke with Renata and the COG the other day, and they're going to supply an invoice for us to pay our affiliated membership. And so I'll have to work out with US Bank about getting checks formulated so Ken and Tim can sign one and pay off the COG for the upcoming fiscal year membership.
Good.
So our balance hasn't really changed from the previous meeting at all.
So we're still low budget.
Yeah, we still have, I think, about $1,000 in our legal defense fund and about $800 in cash on hand.
Okay,
866, I believe, is the value.
sounds right. Okay, anything else?
That's it for the Treasury Report.
Okay. Moving on. Review and approval of Marion County NSSA IGA. Kelly,
Why, hello.
hello.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
I thought I'd throw together a couple slides because it helps me frame my thoughts. So as you guys know, at our last meeting, we looked at the initial draft for the IGA between Marion County and the Sewer Authority for operational support. So this is to help support the Sewer Authority as you look to hire staff and take your organization as a 190 to clear through to supporting the infrastructure of the sewer. So that was approved by you at your last meeting. And then on May 17th, it went to the Marion County Board of Commissioners at their management update. And at that meeting, the board made a couple of recommended changes. The first was they really wanted to ensure that it was clear that the intention was that the Sewer Authority use these dollars to hire a consultant or staff to help perform the services that are listed in the IGA. So help get through those deliverables. So we added that statement into the IGA. And then they really wanted to make sure that there was time-specific requirements for each of the deliverables. So it was clear that it wasn't in the intention that the entire timeline would be used to create these plans, that a good chunk of the timeline was to actually implement the work. So those are the couple changes that we made, and we talked about those at our last work session, one of the Friday work sessions, which I didn't write down that date. And then it also went to our Marion County Legal Department after that, and it's still currently in review by our legal department, but I do have initial edits, which are not very substantive. Mostly they're changes to some of the verbiage and the like. So I did want to walk everybody through those changes, hopefully fairly quickly. It's a little bigger.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem. All right. So I guess the meat and potatoes of the changes really start on page 2. So that's really where I'll walk through. The statement that I mentioned about the commissioners wanting to make sure it was important that the Sewer Authority use these dollars for a consultant or staff members to perform the services. So we called that out. And then each of the deliverables has specific timelines now. So for the first deliverable, the operational plan, that has that it will be completed and approved by the Sewer Authority Board by January 31st, 2023. So that gives us a year and a half to get through those steps and figure out what we need to do. This doesn't mean that we have done everything. It's just us laying out what are the steps we are going to do to make sure that we are operational by the time that infrastructure is, if not in the ground, at least, or if not by the time that we have a contract in place for replacement by the time it's in the ground. And then the next deliverable is the public outreach strategy. We added in a statement, and this is a recommendation from our legal, that all correspondence reports and messaging shall be reviewed by a county representative prior to distribution. And this was basically, if we're going to be requiring the Sewer Authority Board to be the primary public outreach party We want to make sure that it gets reviewed prior. And this isn't going to be anything too dramatic. This means if when we get to the point, oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
So is this you, county representative?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the terminology then.
Yeah, that's the terminology. And then we have the public outreach strategy being implemented and adopted by June 30th, 2023. So got a year. The financial policies has a due date of December 31st, 2022, basically because I'm fairly certain those are almost done. So hopefully we'll have that adopted by then. And then for the grants, we have applying for at least one grant by December 31st, 2022, or other funding mechanism, I should say, not just grants, any other funding mechanism. And then shall seek out and apply for at least one grant or other funding mechanism each year for each of the subsequent years of the agreement. So those are minimums. Obviously, we hope to be able to do more than that, but I wanted to make sure that there was at least some sort of set criteria in there. So those were the changes that were recommended by the board. Some of the changes that were recommended by legal, scrolling up to the first page. This is just this verbiage type thing. So changing some of the language, but it doesn't change the content. We also removed some language that was kind of a holdover from the previous IGA. So this new language, county and the sewer authority will negotiate activities to be conducted for future phases, if any. So we're not going to be negotiating a separate agreement for compensation because this already includes it. Other recommendations from our legal is to include that the sewer authority will make minutes or a recording of the regular scheduled sewer authority meeting available to the county within a reasonable time frame upon demand. So making sure that we have at least a recording or something if somebody at the county requests it.
Okay, Kelly, just so
Yeah.
you know, those recordings are impossible to email. So we do have a YouTube site that they're on.
Yeah, as long as they're available, that's totally fine.
Okay, great. I just wanted to let you know, I tried to email them to myself to move them between computers, and that was not a good thing to try.
They're, I'm sure, monstrous. Let's see. This doesn't change anything. It's just language. This still says consult with the sewer authority prior to making decisions that would impact the financial ability of the sewer authority or other long-term administration. So this is us saying, Marion County saying that we will contact and consult with the sewer authority prior to making any decisions that would affect you and your long-term stability. There were changes to the reporting and compensation, but none of this is substantive. We removed the invoice shall be received no later than June 8th, because this probably won't be approved prior to that. And then some of the reporting requirements were removed in the sense of they were just moved up to a different section. They were reiterated here, so our legal caught that. I think that's it.
Well, looks
To
good.
share this draft. I was hoping that I would have a more final draft to share with you so I could have the final changes prior to this meeting, but I wasn't able to hear back from our legal department. So where we're at right now. Well, before I move on, is there any questions about the proposed changes? All right, so where we're at right now is once I get the sign off from our legal department, we'll get this scheduled for the Board of Commissioners. Right now, it's going to look like it's June 29th board session. So we're cutting it super duper close to getting this out the door by the end of the fiscal year. There is a possibility that there would be minor changes to the IGA during that process. I doubt it, because this has been reviewed and I've gotten comments back from our legal and it's been reviewed by our Board of Commissioners. So it's possible that there's going to be some changes, but I don't think they would be substantive. But I wanted to let you know that. So the action for you tonight is to approve the amended IGA between Marion County and the Sewer Authority for organizational support. And then in order to accommodate those potential changes, authorize Chairperson Woodward to review and approve any minor amendments made during the Marion County Legal Review or Marion County Board of Commissioners and sign on behalf of the Sewer Authority. And then I defined what minor amendments are. So basically anything that doesn't amend the requirements or deliverables to the Sewer Authority or amend the funds or funding structure. So if it's something small, Ken or Tim can approve it and sign on your behalf. If it's something larger, it would need to go back to the Sewer Authority Board for approval. Which leads me to wonder if we should put a tentative meeting of the Sewer Authority Board on the agenda for June 29th in that very unlikely scenario where they recommend changes in this timeline that we need to talk about and get your approval.
What time's the meeting, June 29th?
That is totally up to you.
No,
Marion County meeting.
Oh, our Marion County meeting is at 9 a.m. You're welcome to come. That's
Wednesday.
a good
Last
segue.
Wednesday of the month.
that is, yeah, it is Wednesday.
Yep. It's possible if I could hear back from our legal by the morning to be able to hit the June 22nd meeting, which was my ultimate goal, but I'm not holding my breath.
Well, I'm available on the 29th. I can do anything.
I'll be available.
Majority though, if there's
Right.
major changes, so. What time frame, Mr. Woodward?
For the 29th,
Yeah.
If we had to have what we call an emergency meeting.
be around noon.
Okay, how many board members are we gonna have around noon on the 29th available? Remember, we have to have a quorum.
Well, you know, she was, Kelly was just mentioning that if there's small changes, maybe there's one or two of us that could.
Well, if there's smart changes, you guys can sign it, but if there's a major change, the board has to approve those changes.
Yeah, well, that's something that we're gonna have to,
We just want to be able to be prepared in case there's something.
Yeah,
We're not calling a meeting. We want to be able to set a time for an emergency meeting though if we need to.
right.
I want to get it on the Zoom calendar.
I could be available at just, with a half an hour's notice or so.
Right. And I can't see it being a long meeting. Obviously, we just review the changes.
Okay, that's 3.
I can be available.
Denny,
Yes.
that was Denny. Okay,
I'll block it out on my calendar at work too.
and so that's Janet.
Okay.
So that's,
Available on the 29th at noon. Is that what you're
yeah,
tentative? That's the tentative.
that's the tentative. Brian, so that's 6. So we got our quorum.
So, okay.
That's good.
Okay, so I'm setting, just so it's on the calendar, 6/29. And this will be totally a Zoom meeting.
Okay. So do we have a number for this motion? Does somebody want to make a motion to accept this IGA?
I'll make a motion that we approve the staff recommendation for the IGA.
Denny
I'll
makes,
second that.
Brian seconds. Any discussion, any more discussion?
Well, I think we might want to include in the motion the scheduling of the emergency meeting
If there's major changes.
if
If needed.
if substantive changes are made in the document.
Okay,
Make it clear that your motion is based on this slide.
Yes, it is. And that's clearly articulated at the bottom of the slide.
Janet,
Okay, Janet had to step out of the room for a minute. She received a personal phone call that she had to take. So I guess I will call for the vote. We have a motion and a second. The motion includes this slide as well as setting up the tentative meeting, right? Correct. So, all in favor, say aye.
let's
Aye.
do a roll call.
A roll call. I don't know if I'm prepared to do that. So let's see. We have Brian.
Aye.
We have Denny.
Aye.
We have Ken.
Aye.
We have, I don't have everybody's face on the screen here, so.
Tony.
Tony,
Tony's and I.
Tony's an aye. There we go. And we have myself. That's an aye. And I guess that's enough for the quorum, isn't it?
Ken.
Did I say Ken?
you said me. I said
Okay.
aye. And
Okay. So that
Janet,
was Janet's out of the room. So that's 5 ayes. So that should make it a passed vote.
okay.
All opposed? None.
All right, folks. Kelly, is that good?
That is perfect. Thank you very much. So, okay, to reiterate, the board session will likely be June 29th at 9 a.m. So it
Yeah.
sounds like Ken and Tim are interested in coming, so we can work out. I'm happy to have you talk a little bit to the board. It's a great opportunity to talk to not just the board, but also the public, because people do pay attention to those meetings. So it's an opportunity to talk about the sewer authority and what we've been working on. So we'll figure that out as we get closer. And then hopefully we won't have that tentative meeting, but it is scheduled for noon on the 29th if we need it.
Good. Yes, moving forward. Thank you, everyone. Kelly, again, thank you.
Of course.
All right, review and approval of Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Government staff position. Renata. Been working hard on this.
Hi, everyone. I am noticing now that the version that was included in your packet is a little outdated. That's my fault. I've continued to take comments. Brian was kind enough to review and provide some comments to me. I have had it reviewed by my executive director, and we've got a pay range and a step and class system here at COG that we think would align and make for a competitive position within the funding parameters. So being that you have not yet signed the IGA and that we are not ready to do a recruitment at this point, I would welcome comments to continue for you to review the position and continue to provide comments to us, if any. I would like to make sure that you're reviewing the most recent iteration. So we are not asking for any motion or recommendation. At this point, I will share the most recent version that we have been drafting here at COG. It still needs to go through my executive director for approval of the position and through our HR. But we have some time. We can move quickly on this, but I think, we need to do so after the IGA. So if it's okay with everyone here, my recommendation is that I just send to you the most current version. You are, if it's a COG employee, of course, any comments or changes would have to be approved by the executive director at the COG. But we are open to any feedback you have on the position or what may be missing and what you're looking for in a staff person. I have reviewed the IGA in the current iteration of the draft from the county that you just reviewed. And if we were to host the position, we would have an open recruitment. And of course, we would ask the sewer authority and any other partners that you would like to be on the interview panel when we get to that point, but we're not at that. So those are my comments for tonight, but I'm here to answer any questions or take any feedback you might have.
Did everybody receive the job announcement?
I received it. Ken, I don't think I have access, or maybe I'm just not quite to that level yet with Google Docs. So maybe I need access. When I read it, it comes out in a real funky format. So if there's a way I
I'm
can,
happy, if it's okay with you all, I can either send it to Ken or to Sarah for distribution via email in a draft version, whatever you prefer.
Go ahead and send it to Sarah.
Okay, and she'll get it out. And
Yeah.
again, my apologies for not making sure Sarah had the most current version. We have continued to take comments. I've had conversations with my executive director, and we're trying to refine the position to make it obviously describe the scope and needs of what you need, but ensure that it will be competitive to get you a strong candidate.
And
Thank you.
anybody that has any comments can contact Sarah or Renata.
Correct. Yeah, we are not, at this point, we will ask you to eventually approve the job description. This person will be working and reporting directly to the board with supervision from the Council of Governments, but I think it's a little early at this point.
Yeah, so Sarah will get it all sent out. Tony, you should have it soon. Brian had some good comments about it. Denny's put in his time on it. We need everybody to review it. And if you have any suggestions or comments, let Sarah know, or Renata. Brian? Unmute.
Yeah, it might be a good time to just kind of summarize the meeting we had with Scott and Renata the other day, and maybe that would be a little bit helpful as we didn't come to a decision, but
No.
it seemed a little bit of the consensus was around that this is a 20-hour share between the COG, and the COG would use this individual in other areas of its workings, and that us through an affiliated membership with COG would work on their current fee schedule. Their board has agreed to a fee schedule for, as it does probably annually, for the services, and our affiliate membership covers some of that, but there are services above and beyond. And so the fuzzy area for me, and you guys can, and Renata, clarify this if you can, is the finance part, the financial skills of this individual. And I think Renata was right to pull those out of the job description and see that we, in this, at least this first year, where the transactions financially that we're going to undertake are probably somewhat minimal. Mainly, I think I summarized it as we're going to be writing COG a check for the services that they're providing for us. That's about what our, there might be some legal services that we access from our legal firm, but so that's the perspective that we're looking at it for the first fiscal year 22-23 under the IGA with Marion County.
Yes, it was talked about taking the financial part out of it due to the fact, as you say, what we're doing financially is minimal, but later on, once it gets going, we'll have to go with a different firm, financial firm. So that would be all in your lap, taking care of the financial deal. But we also talked about, COG has been with us in the beginning. They know the canyon, they know the communities. It's a good match. We talked about that. They're very aware of the program, the projects, and that's a plus. But whoever is hired is also going to have to get familiar with the communities and the project. So Brian was wondering if it really would take 20 hours a week of the individual's time. And as Renata stated, that they have to get up to date. They're going to have to get up to date. They're going to have to get up to snuff on everything. And so it's going to take them time. They're going to have questions. They're going to be contacting people. I also see Mr. Carmichael has joined the meeting. So just to let Janet know.
Yeah, I see.
So that's what we did talk about. You know, they want to make sure they have all their ducks in a row, and we agree. So if anybody reads it and has any suggestions or anything, feel free to make your comments.
And thank you, Ken and Brian, for the feedback you provided and for a meeting with our executive director to, make sure that he's kind of hearing from you all what the scope and intentions are. I did just kind of jump into this. The COG as an organization, like you, is an ORS 190. So we are organized and formed in the same way. And so as such, once you become a member of the Council of Governments, we have a history and quite a bit of experience hosting positions for area nonprofits that are partners, local governments who have requested us to do so, and providing office space in that capacity. So it's a natural fit or ask for us to host employees on behalf of other organizations, and we do that on a regular basis, including Marion County, Salem Kaiser, and other ORS 190s or public municipalities. And it will be up to you all to decide. We can provide some office space, but clearly the person will need to be spending time up in the canyon. And there was discussion of Mill City or another community potentially providing some office space for that person. And we are clear in the draft job description that, travel and evening meetings, that they will not be located in Salem, that they will need to have a physical presence in your communities.
Brian.
I think there's that huge upside on this is that one, COG has a supervisory structure for this employee. So they can do all the evaluation of the employee that we haven't set up in policy yet or have processes for. Secondly, HR compliance will be their responsibility, which is huge for us too, because how dynamic that situation can be as an employer. So those are worth half of this position in and of itself. If we're only using them 15 hours a week and COG ends up using them for 25 hours a week, we're still ahead in this situation.
Agree. Anybody else?
I totally agree that at this stage, somebody like COG is going to be invaluable as far as partnering with for the supervisory structure of the administrator or whatever. I can see down the road, obviously going on our own, because we're going to need somebody to supervise a lot more. But at this stage where we're organizing and stuff like that, COG is going to be a very welcome housekeeper for us.
Good match. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, anything?
No, I'd be redundant in what's already been said, but I'm in agreement with it. I appreciate an organization that can come alongside and help us to really succeed in what we're doing.
I agree. Mr. Carmichael.
Sorry, I was late. I was underneath the truck, so. All of a sudden,
the truck wasn't on top of you.
well, it was on top of me, all right. But not holding me down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know that COG has got a lot of experience with a lot of stuff, and so I'm wondering how much we need right at this point, and still undecided or whatever it is at this point on everything. So,
Well, I think we're gonna need a lot more than what we were thinking, so I think COG is experienced and very helpful, and they know the canyon. Denny,
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, and to Ken's point, there's going to be a sharp learning curve. I don't know how much time that's going to take, but as I said to Ken earlier, this position will evolve over time, and we'll understand a lot more in 6 months what we need or don't need than we do now. I appreciate that we have a terrific partner in COG, and I just think we need to move forward, fill the position, and morph into whatever kind of an organization we're going to be early on, and then be thinking much harder about our organization in the future as the project matures.
good point. COG's been with us since day one with this. Marion County trusts COG, we trust COG. All the other agencies trust them. I think it's a good match. Great partner. Okay, we're not gonna decide anything, right, Renata?
Correct. No decisions tonight.
Okay, so Sarah will get out the updated version of the position. Everybody can review it. So, anything else on that? Okay, old business update, work by AmeriCorps. Rare member Sarah, it's all yours.
Thank you. I just have a couple quick updates about what I've been working on. The first is the communications plan, which if you haven't seen it, I can send that to you, but it's on the Google Drive. And that's just kind of a big spreadsheet where I'm kind of keeping track of a lot of the different partners involved in this project or stakeholders, and kind of how often and how they need to be communicated with and updated, and what the ask is of them or what they need to know. So I'm kind of keeping track of different media outlets, again, different partners and stakeholders. And I think that will just be an ever evolving document. And it's also part of the IGA, as Kelly explained, is that like public outreach strategy. So that will kind of be something that the staff member will work on as well, but I'm just getting a start on that. Kind of also related to the IGA, I've been working on making a more visual action plan based on the deliverables written out in that IGA. So kind of having a timeline and a like key action steps associated with that for the new staff person and the board to kind of follow along with and have a sort of more visual look at that. So I can probably share that with the board at our next work session if you're interested. And I think that could just be a helpful communication tool, especially when the new staffer comes along. And then the last piece I wanted to talk about is the Google Drive itself, which I had mentioned a lot in the past. I know it's like a new platform for a lot of you. And I think it can be really useful. It's a good place to have everything centralized, but I also understand that a lot of you are learning it for the first time or might need help with it. So I figured, and we talked about this a little bit, I could I could present at the next board meeting or something, just kind of a 5 to 10 minute Google Drive 101, just kind of the basics of how to access it and making sure everyone is kind of on the same page there. So if that would be helpful, I'm very happy to do that. I see a thumbs up.
Please.
And the other thing, what?
Please, it's challenging.
Okay, yeah, I totally understand that. And I've also started, because I'm aware, and hopefully you're all aware, my time is limited. I'll be done in this position on July 26th, which is coming up rather quickly. So I've been on the Google Drive. I have a new folder where I'm just kind of putting sort of tutorials and just information that I've collected about, how to navigate the website, like the back end of the website, how to upload minutes and agendas, how to put things on YouTube. So I'm kind of housing a lot of information there that hopefully can be a resource for you. So when I do have that little presentation about Google Drive, I'll definitely be sure to show you all where that is, just so you have that in the future. But it sounds like you would be interested in Google Drive 101.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
I think we ought to do it on our work session on June 20th.
Okay, that
Is
sounds
that
perfect.
agreeable with everybody?
I agree, because if there's follow-up that needs to happen, we could have it immediately after
Yeah.
Work
or a
session,
subsequent meeting.
June 20th.
Sarah, it might be helpful to chunk it into kind of assignments. So, maybe there's some people that are responsible for, I guess, documents about financial, and some people that are responsible for communication documents. So we don't rely on each of ourselves being able to sort through the mass of documents, because there's a good amount of documents on that page.
There is.
So
Yeah.
maybe we can figure out how to take responsibility for sections of it, so we don't have to learn the whole. But when we're sitting together, we have the kind of the gestalt in place.
And that's some organizing that I could also do, because currently there's like, I don't know, 20 different folders on there, but if I can organize it into like finances, like minutes and agenda, like some more simple categories like that, then different board members or officers could be kind of in charge of each of those folders.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You could, as you're doing it, maybe it's organized by role. You
Yeah.
know, like the financials would be the treasurer and
I agree.
That makes a lot of sense.
So June 20th.
Okay, I can plan on having something to present on the 20th then. And yeah, those are all the updates for me.
June 20th, navigate Google Drive, led by Sarah. Okay. All right, update financial policies and procedures, just the update.
Renata, did you have a
Oh,
question?
yeah, Ken, just
Oh,
a
sorry, I
comment,
wasn't
sorry.
able- I wasn't
Sarah's
able-
also, Sarah, I don't think that you, once the IGA is finalized and you have these milestones, Sarah's developing a timeline and tracking mechanism to meet those timelines. I'm sorry, maybe you mentioned that, but I didn't hear it. So I wanted to note that she's preparing that for you as well.
Yeah, I did, thanks. And I'll share that also at the next board meeting,
The board meeting, you want to share it on the work session?
or the 20th is also fine. I
Just
can
do
do
it
it on
on
20th.
the work session, yes, 20th. Thank you, Renata. I wasn't even looking, I'm making notes and not paying attention to anything. All right, so the next meeting,
Well, I think we were at item J, but
I am on the financial policies and procedures, yes.
okay. So Janet and I, kind of she got sick, then I got sick, and so we haven't gotten anywhere, I guess is the little long and short of it. But I think we're almost done with our budget. I'm not quite sure how Mill City is doing, getting close to being done with their budget. So hopefully Sarah, Janet and I can get together and kind of pool what we have and then set out a timeline to meet that December due date.
Okay. So we'll just put that on for the next meeting, which is July. Oh,
Yeah, we need to discuss
yeah.
that.
There will be no July 4th meeting.
Do we want to move it to the 5th, or do we want to move it out a week and not, or forgo the work session?
Any suggestions?
suggest moving it out a week because you might have a better chance of having the IGA with the cog ready by then.
Yeah, and I'm also not available that week of the 4th, but the following week works just great.
So July 11th,
Worked for me.
I'll ink it on my calendar.
July 11th.
Hank, that's, you know, that's confidence there, Tim.
Are you using ink instead of a pencil or crayon? It's pretty good.
Okay, July 4th, we're done. No meeting.
Okay, so just to make sure that I'm understanding, so no meeting on the 4th,
Yes,
having a regular meeting on July 11th.
yeah, we're moving the 4th to the 11th.
So on July 18th would have been our second regular meeting of the month.
That'd be the work session.
No, that would have been a regular meeting. So the 11th it was a work session and now it's a regular meeting. So the 18th is down as a regular meeting. Do we want to change that to a work session or keep that
No.
regular meeting?
There, the 18th would have been a work session, not a regular meeting.
So the
Oh,
11th.
you're right.
Yeah,
Geez, never mind.
So, we can make a decision on the 11th if we need.
You're right. I was wrong. I'll admit it. It's on tape.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
No.
We have Brian Nicholas on here. Mr. Nicholas, do you have any updates or anything for us? Ah,
Yeah, I get myself unmuted and those kind of things. Let's see, right now, the RFP for the full service consultant agreement is on track, no changes in schedule. So proposals are due Tuesday, June 21st. And so, you know, our contracts guy, Tim Beaver, is pretty busy. That's why our selection committee members haven't gotten the conflict of interest packet from him, but that stuff just takes, you know, a day to get done. So you should expect to see an email for the members that are on the selection committee, should expect to get an email with those documents, the conflict of interest documents, probably next week. And then it might take us a day to get the submittal stuff checked and make sure we know who's responsive and who's not. So but I am hoping that we'll get a quick turnaround on those. And I just want to throw this out for the board. We're starting to get pre-proposal questions from prospective proposers. So the way the county's rules work, all of the responses that the candidate pool receives all needs to come from Tim Beaver. He makes sure that every one of the plan holders receives a copy of the question and the official response from the county. So if you are, if folks happen to know that you're on the board and you get contacted by somebody with a question about either the scope of the work or the selection criteria or any of that, just send them my way, and we'll make sure and get those answers and those questions addressed as quickly as possible. We want everybody to have as good a shot as possible to submit a good, responsive, competitive proposal.
we're not supposed to discuss anything.
That's
at
right.
this point.
But then again, all I did was send you guys the scope at this point. So, right. So there shouldn't be a whole lot to discuss, but just in case, just wanted to throw that out there and remind everybody.
No, thank you.
May I ask a question of Brian, please?
Yo,
Brian, we're all aware that part of that $50 million that was funded for the projects, and that's a plural, ends up in the area of Detroit and Idana. Throughout my short history on this board, I've not been aware of any sort of planning calendar related to the activities that $10 million will support in the Detroit Idana area. So question is someone going to put together a planning calendar or a simple outline of what we think that money is going to be spent on and when and where the activities will occur to use those resources. And the reason I'm asking this is because as I attend functions in the Detroit area, the questions always comes up is when are we going to be able to think that we have an opportunity for a temporary sewer system so that the business community can redevelop.
Right. Well, I think there's kind of two answers there. One is, I think, given the size of the larger sewer project, our timeline, I think, is more or less dictated by the ARPA funding deadlines, because I think under normal circumstances to design, to put together your facilities plan and then your construction documents, acquire your permits, acquire your properties, and then go into construction would take longer than the 4 years we have available. Typically, because there's a lot of stakeholders and a lot of stuff to do. So this one, we're going to take what's a normal timeline and just squeeze it down a little bit for the larger project. But the septic, like an interim septic for the commercial core for Detroit, that can happen as soon as the design and permitting of that can start as soon as the contract is issued, the consulting agreement is issued. So my plan is to put an emphasis on that. And then I went ahead and lumped everything together, the two sewer projects and the interim septic solution for Detroit, all into one, because it all has to work together.
Sure.
And, in my experience, when you start to get up to projects that are, 30, 40, $50 million, a consultant that thinks they can walk in the door and say, hey, I have all the resources in-house to do it, they never are successful on those kind of projects. You need more than one consultant on the team. You need, and that large septic thing, it's kind of a specialty deal. You have to know what you're doing. Not many civils have large scale, like commercial septic kind of experience. So I'm expecting proposers are going to bring those specialty consultants in, and they'll have a large consultant team that has the horsepower and the knowledge to get all these components done. So, but to get back to your first, once we award the contract to the consultant, they're going to have to lay out a schedule for us that gets everything done to meet the ARPA deadlines. And we'll put a big emphasis on getting the septic solution in as early as possible.
Thank you.
Tony.
Yeah, if I can jump in, Brian, also, if I recall in a couple meetings back, 3 or 4 meetings back, that $10 million was not only just for the larger city septic system, but it also, you had briefly outlined that it would include potentially procurement or of a site, if I recall correctly. And that's, even though some of our folks in our neighborhood understand it's off in the future, I'm getting the same questions, as well as when I present, city council's kind of saying, can you present something and let us know, is there going to be a timeline? What is that $10 million we're hearing about going to consist of? Is it all in Detroit, or is it going to be for the combination going forward? That's my first question. I'll let you answer, and then I have a follow-up after you take that.
Yeah. I think that with $10 million, we can get the larger sewer project for Detroit, Idana. We can get it all the way to being bid ready. Should be able to get the facilities plan, the construction documents done, permits acquired, property acquired, make that project bid ready. And that's going to set the sewer authority and the county up to be really competitive for grants. So that's kind of where that $10 million came from. It's kind of, it's kind of $5 or $6 million to get that piece of the project done to be bid ready. And then the rest is what we imagine could be needed for commercial septic plus some unknowns, that kind of thing. So I think that $10 million is an ample budget to get both of those objectives met. But then the construction dollars, that's where we're going to need to get, that's when we're going to need to look for a $50 million infusion of cash for the construction of the Detroit Idana sewer system itself. So we're kind of pushing things as far as this pot of money will let us, and then set the stage for the next big push in the future.
My second question was, can you, or do you have a timeline yet I'm not retired like some of my fellow board members for reviewing for reviewing some of these the RFQs. And I know that you mentioned it's closing sometime towards the end of June. We're coming up into the height of summer season. If we can get notice, I think it was myself and Mayor Carmichael that were on that as representatives of the NSSA. I'm just wondering how far out you're going to give us notice or be able to give us notice.
Oh, well, you're definitely on. You're the two NSSA representatives on the selection committee. The only thing that would take it off is if you had a conflict of interest, and that will come out in filling out the conflict of interest paperwork, or you decide you don't want to be there, or the board replaces, puts a different substitute in. So I definitely have you on. Proposals are due on the 21st. We're going to, on the evening of the 21st and on the 22nd, we are going to do the compliance review. Proposers that if they have a material defect with their proposal and they are not in compliance with the submittal requirements, they could be disqualified. So we do that first initial review, and then once that's done, we're gonna push those proposals and the review forms out to everybody. So it'll probably take us a day to get to that point, and then we'll push those documents out to you. And I'll have printed versions at Public Works. So if it's convenient, if you're in Salem and you can pick them up, you can get everything printed in hard copy, but I'll also have electronic versions for those that just want to work on their computer.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll keep that block open.
Good.
Janet, you had a question?
I just had a question about the Arpathons. What is the date they have to be expended?
So all the work has to be under contract no later than December 31st, 2024. So we have 2.5 years for that. And then all 100% of the funds have to be fully expended. So that means construction complete, and we've paid the contractor's invoices. December 31st, 2026. So that's 4.5 years away.
Okay.
However, we're counting on the idea that the feds are not going to pull money away when projects are in construction. So I kind of look at that. I mean, we're not going to relent on that 2026 deadline.
Yeah.
But if for some reason circumstances outside our control come up and our contractor does not make that date, I don't think it's going to kill the project. I don't see the feds pulling the money away at that point.
Okay, thank you. I know there's several batches of ARPA funds out there that have several drop dead dates by, so I couldn't remember what ours was. Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Questions?
I think, Brian, it would be really helpful if, you made a nice summary there. And I think those are kind of the bullet points that Denny and Tony are needing, but also that Denny needs as our communication person I know it's probably beneficial for us after we receive these monies from the county to sit down with the local paper or with KVAL and do a little bit of public relations work with our communities to let them know that, hey, this is moving. It's, you haven't heard very much about what's going on, but we're moving. And so I really like that breakdown that you just did about the 5 million, and then kind of the goals of those two buckets. I think that'd be really helpful for our communities to get in either print or over the radio, and for us as council members to be able to share at our city council meetings. So maybe in one of our Friday work sessions, we can get that refined a little bit and get some bullet points for our community to go out, especially, the culmination of an RFP and its review and where we sit in that process.
Yeah, that sounds good. I have a new, I've never had a public information specialist in my department before, but I have one now. So I'll volunteer her effort to help us pull that together. I mean, let's next Friday we meet. Let's get the bullets down, and then we'll have her put a little polish on it for us. Make sure it makes sense. She's pretty good at reading it and making sure it's going to land. She'll see it fresh, and she'll make sure that it lands on people the way they expect. And then one thing I am really excited about is, we've included public outreach and engagement in the consultant scope of work. I'm expecting the consultant team will have a public engagement specialist. So it'll be a dedicated resource to make sure that all the messaging that needs to get out as the project progresses gets out.
Okay, when Brian mentioned our next Friday work session, that's the 17th. That went over my head. So we have the 17th and we have the 20th.
I think the 17th is our traditional bi-weekly.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know about the 20th.
You're not gonna get those of us that are still working class to those Friday morning meetings. It just ain't gonna happen.
Okay.
We
I
get
think the
10.
idea with
I
those
resent
Friday,
that. That's right. I'll try and make it, even though I still work. Of course, it's a couple miles from
Just
my
as
work.
Gentry
So,
retired, huh?
right?
If you can show up on the 17th, be there. Love to have you.
I think the
Well,
idea with making those Friday morning meetings, work sessions was more to make sure everybody was welcome if they could make it, not that
yeah.
everyone to make it. We were running into issues. We had quorum and we didn't want to throw people to the wolves. Thou shalt leave the room.
Yeah.
Might as well make it a work session.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, thank you, Brian, for mentioning the 17th, the bi-weekly. We
I
will
have a
be there.
question for Brian as far as, so Brian, the state of Oregon Department of Energy has these both planning and construction grants for solar or renewable energy projects. Can those be like piggybacked on to either of the projects that we're doing? Because their timeline is it's pretty loose. It looks like there's multiple funding windows being opened up.
Could be. I think that the answer is could be, especially if they are state grant programs and not federal.
They are state.
We're finding on the highway side, combining ARPA with federal highway dollars is you don't want to do it. It's more, it's not worth it. The amount of work you'll go through is just daunting. So it might be, I'm thinking sort of worst case scenario, we might have some standalone projects that if there's that kind of an issue, then what you do is you make those standalone projects, you bid them separately. There would be follow-on projects to the main project. Except for the fact that when we build these sewer systems, we want backup power. We do not want the sewer system plants to fail in a prolonged power outage. So they'll already have generators or things of that sort, but they're certainly not carbon neutral. So adding things like solar is always a good secondary measure.
And power does go out from time to time in the canyon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but they are.
We're trying to write a short-term battery backup system. And I'm thinking that the different pump stations that we have along this route of Project A, it might be helpful to have some solar in with it. To me, the crux of it is all about timing. Is the timing going to match up? But I mean, they have $12 million in the initial funding, so might be something to think about since we have to do grants as part of our IGA. I mean, grants are part of our IGA. So
I have so many projects coming out of my ears because of ARPA funding that frankly, my strategy is get this consultant on board and we'll start in the consultant with these ideas.
Okay. I hear that.
Hey, Ken, I need to throw a monkey wrench in here too. I'm looking at the calendar. June 20th is a state holiday. It's Juneteenth.
June, yeah,
It's also a Marion County holiday, so.
it is.
Yeah,
That's why I remember.
So I
it.
know that we just flagged a meeting for the 20th as our work session. I know with Sarah but Sarah's gonna be doing the Google Docs 101 class for us, so I don't know if we're gonna be doing anything where we need all our state and county partners to be at that meeting, because it is a work session anyway. But I just wanted to point that out to everybody that we need to make sure we keep it to something that most of us are going to be there would be get value from.
Sarah, are you gonna work on that day?
No,
I can.
she's already a volunteer.
Yeah, I'm happy to attend the meeting that night. That's fine.
No, we shouldn't do that. That's a federal holiday. Move the meeting to the 27th. I propose we move the meeting to the 27th. We aren't meeting on the 4th anyway, so.
Well, does everybody want it? It's up to the board.
I
You
can
wanna
do
move it to
either.
Denny?
I can do either date, so whatever the group decides.
Either date works for me.
I can do any of those days too. So
Yeah, I can make it work.
I don't know about my schedule. I have to work on it.
You and I both don't get federal holidays off.
neither
I
do
won't-
I.
You don't have to schedule around me, but I won't be able to make the 27th.
You won't be able to?
No.
But you won't be able to make the 20th either, because that's a
Well,
holiday.
I was hoping to not. That one was mostly because.
Yeah, it's a holiday for you.
Yeah, I know. Now I have a birthday holiday pretty much every year. I'll take it.
Oh,
There you go.
congratulations.
Lucky you.
I know.
Well, it's just a training session on our drive, so. you
Yeah,
probably wouldn't
I'm-
Be involved in that anyway.
I don't need to be there. I'm pretty much a guru.
Well, let's-
It's a
let's
federal holiday.
Let's change it to the
Federal holiday.
27th. Brian, we'll change it to 27th. Sarah, if that's okay with you, you can set it up for Zoom.
Okay.
And
So
the 7th,
here's a short anecdote. I worked in China for 2 years. So China would have you work 14 days in a row, and then they'd give you 3 days off because it was a national holiday. That doesn't sound like a holiday to me. I'd hate to try and replicate that system here in the United States.
Sounds like my schedule now here.
Well, Tim, some of that's choice, I got a feeling.
Okay.
My mortgage chooses it for me.
there you go. 17th, we got our bi-weekly on July 17th and the 27th. Our work session, navigate Google Drive, Sarah.
And just so everyone knows, the North Santiam Sewer Google Calendar is linked up with the website, and I've been changing that as we've talked about at this meeting. So that should all be updated. If you just go to the website and the calendar page, it'll show all the meetings for the next month.
Okay.
Sarah, you are
can, like, scroll
fabulous.
through.
Yes. And
Thank
we,
you.
before I forget, Arthur sent an email out to Brian and I questioning if we're going to hire somebody through Arpathons, and I think that was cleared up. Is Arthur's, do you have any questions, Arthur?
Nope, all set. I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to amend that contract before it got released. So all good on my end.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I think the communications on the 17th, Brian Nicholas, and also I know that we have our website that communicates when our meetings are. Are we doing, should we do more?
Yes,
Yes, okay.
we need to like get it into our, if we have newsletters, we need to get out there. We probably should get it on any local papers, the Canyon, what is it, Canyon Weekly or whatever it's called, maybe see if Mr. Cartwright will broadcast it on KYAC.
Or put it on Santiam Canyon chat or something like that.
That would be great.
That would be cheaper. Yeah, we have to, yeah.
We
I would-
can put a blurb in Mill City's a little page that we put out with the water bills every month too.
Maybe we can work on something with Detroit and Idana. Tony, you can work on Idana or maybe on their social media.
Yeah,
I
we've got an Idana Neighbors social media where there's a lot of overlap with the folks from Idana, Detroit into the Santiam chat, but some that just use that. So whatever I think goes out, Santiam chat, we can push right into there. I happen to be married to one of the administrators of that.
Sorry.
So no, that was a conversation Kelly and I had. I think we need to do more. And the communications, just when Brian was talking about that, I think we need to do more.
At
So
the very least, all that's required by state law is to post the agenda on the website at least 24 hours in advance.
right.
So we do not need to define a paper of record.
No, if we were doing public hearing, like, or something where you needed that kind of public outreach, maybe, but as far as your general meetings, no.
The Detroit puts it on Nextdoor Detroit, which I didn't see anything with the last work session on the last one. And I think they're changing their meetings, but we need to communicate a little bit. We have it available. I think we need to do more.
Well, in my experience, last thing we want is people to say they had no idea this was going on. We need to be able to look back and point at different things. Well, we put it here, we put it here, we put it here. You know, we can't shove it down your throat. We can only make it available in as many different genres, I guess, as possible. So we'll still get people that said they didn't know about it.
Well, we're gonna work on that.
Yep.
And with the help of Sarah, we're putting on Sarah again. She gets a lot done. So, and our communications individual, we'll work on him. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything? Mary, got anything to add, or Jody?
Janet's got her hand up.
Who does?
Janet.
Oh, Janet.
So question, when we set this up to be an in-person meeting as well as a Zoom meeting, we had talked about the possibility of moving to different communities as we do this. Just a reminder, because I'm gonna need a little bit of notice, because I'll have to change some of my work time to be able to commute to where we're going. Room to set up the 2 computers, the camera, the monitor I have. Just think about it and how you want to do it, when you want to do it, if that's something we want to get on the calendar rotating.
Would definitely need it on the calendar because I'm in Portland doing business typically Monday through Wednesday, but I can change my schedule with notice, probably like others.
We
Just
To
a
bring-
bug,
to-
because I'm portable.
to bring Tony up to date, we had talked a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. Having meetings in Idana. Our NSSA meetings in Idana or Detroit. Well, all the four communities, we were thinking of moving it around. We never got to that point, but I think part of our communication strategy coming up, we ought to start thinking about that.
I think it's a great idea, and maybe we even because of Detroit and Idana, and I'll let you and Denny, of course, weigh in on it. Maybe we place less of an emphasis on going that far up the canyon initially, and have, maybe it's quarterly that it's up there so people can join. Be kind of a shame to have the board and everybody go there and monthly or bi-monthly and have nobody show up. But I like the idea of moving, Mill City Gates. Again, that goes that whole communication piece of we're there, whether you've chosen to be a part of it or not. We're making ourselves available.
I like the comment about quarterly. I do. That's,
So my big request is I gotta have internet access unless you want to pay my phone bill when I set up a hotspot.
But we got, we were the first to get fiber up in Idana. They started up the canyon and worked their way down. That was the one benefit.
yeah, there is.
I got better internet up there than I do in Portland.
I think that, I was just up at that community center opening it in Detroit the other day. Beautiful building, nice structure. So I think we should christen it, especially if we're rolling out a communication plan about the IGA and the RFP that's just being closed, and do maybe, I would pick two. I'd say Mill City has a nice meeting spot and Detroit has a nice meeting spot. And while the weather's nice, maybe we bounce back and forth, but when we get into the winter, we go quarterly up to Detroit and back. And of course, it would always be hybrid. We could do all our work sessions hybrid. So if it was a work session, people wouldn't have to feel like they had to travel.
Well, that's part of what we're supposed to be doing,
right?
Communicating. So let's put it down on paper. Let's work something out. Good ideas. Good ideas. Well, we'll turn it all over to Denny.
Ron has a guest with him.
Oh,
Subcommittee.
yep. Mary, did you have anything to say?
I just was gonna echo sort of what Brian Nichols was thinking about, what the 10 million can go for. And I think that was about, reasonable what he was proposing. And I'm happy that, they're thinking about when we bring the engineering on to kind of help with the financial piece, because I would like to see that you're thinking about how do we have an income here, even if it's, somehow getting some money in that then you could pay people to do jobs and stuff like that, and until you get, up and running. So I don't know how that would be, but looking for that operational money in addition to what the county has provided you, because you're going to need it as you make, decisions and have to pay bills and things like that. So
Yes. That's part of the IGA. We're going to be working on it. And that's why COG is so important to help us out there.
And then, Arthur's on here too. So, I mean, if you were thinking that you were going to become a sewer district and we're seeking funding, certainly we could talk about what the state revolving loan fund means. Arthur can talk about special project work. I don't know if you'd qualify for USDA, but we could certainly talk to Holly. So at least the funders can say, hey, this is what we do, and this is when it would be good for you to come in for money. That might be helpful to invite us sometime to a meeting to go over those things for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur, anything else?
Not much. I look forward to that meeting, though. I think Mary's right. There are things to think about in terms of structure. I think you're being steered in a good direction from the county. And I think OAWU and the COG and your other advisors are going to continue to get you pointed in the right direction.
We need the help.
You guys are doing a great job.
We need the help. All right. Anything else? Anybody else?
Just real quick to let the board know, I did get a response from another, I feel pretty good candidate for the Idana board spot. So I'll put that through to our city council and the proper channels, and it'll come back full circle to you guys. So.
Yeah,
Can-
to send a letter to the NSSA.
Ken, I had a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, and a couple of our work sessions back, we were looking with the members that were there and with Sarah at Ford Foundation grant. And the idea is that maybe we would put together an NSSA board retreat where we could start getting after some of these real global issues about our values, our expectations, what do we think the system should look like, our goals for the next 12 to 18 months, and take a couple of days where we would meet in a location that's convenient to all of us and just start getting some mission statements and elements that start providing us with some benchmarks that we need to meet over time. The IGA gives us a good structure to start a lot of our work, but there's some pretty weighty discussions about how are we going to run this system. You know, how do we bring two communities together under one sewer system? And so I think that's in-person work, which really hasn't been possible in the last 24 months, but maybe it's time that we get to that level and we have some real, poster paper, writing things down and getting some foundational things delineated for us as a leadership team, and use the Ford Foundation as the guidance on that. And that'd be really helpful as we bring on this new employee to, support us through the COG, for having that individual kind of integrated in that and understanding what is it that we're trying to achieve as an organization. So that's just a thought. We thought it would be an easy grant for us to go after right away and show the county that, hey, we're thinking about these things and we're trying to do it.
I think Renata asked us to hold off on, it was a suggestion by Renata to hold off on the Ford grant until we get everything finalized with COG.
Right. I agree with that, but trying to get everybody's calendar kind of organized. So if people are kind of thinking about that and, when would it be convenient for them as a person to give up kind of 2 days on a weekend or a Friday and a Saturday or something in their life, it might be helpful for them to start planning that.
Start putting things on paper, your thoughts, where we're going to be, where we're going, how the project's going to be run, what do they expect? What are we going to expect the public to be a part of? So, yeah. Anybody else? Okay, well, Sarah will get the application out to everybody. I don't hear anything else. So, it's 7:30. If there's nothing else to discuss, then thank you everybody for participating. Thank you everybody for being here. And exciting times. We are going to move forward. And it's been a few years. We got here. We're going to get her done. And
I'm going to turn the recording off.
All right, thank you.
all right, thank you everybody. It's 7:30 and it's 6/6/2022 and the meeting is over.